a new edition of Kill Team. So this isn't seasonal content like Gallo Dark or Nightmare that we've seen previously. This is a brand new edition. So tell us a little bit about it.
Cool. So yeah, so it's a restart in a way. So we have all of our factions getting new rules. But what we've done is we've looked at the core rules from the previous edition and we thought we're pretty happy with this. We like where Kill Team's at. And so what that means is that for veteran players, it's going to feel very familiar with some targeted improvements. But one of the big things we've done is we've made the game more accessible than ever before.
Interesting. They're saying almost. It feels like
It's like it almost feels like a company-wide policy.
Effort.
Yes, across all of their games.
Yeah, they're like more accessible, simpler, not simple or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's exactly what like 10th edition was pitched as.
I'm
interested to hear what they think is going to be simpler in terms of Kill Team, which I'm okay with that if they make it a little simpler.
Me too.
Because I think Kill Team has a lot of rules bloat. It's fun. I mean, I like Kill Team, but like
it takes as long as a Warhammer game to like a full Warhammer 40K game to play, which is like, hey, can we make this not take as long? It's a skirmish game.
Yeah. So that is. It's super interesting, though, that they literally said what they did for 10th edition and now 4th edition, Age of Sigmar. It's that same, like, that thread of hey, we're going to make it more accessible or easier or whatever. Like, not easier, but, like, simpler. Like, that is... I'm interested to see what the new rules for every faction look like and what factions actually make the cut. I don't know if they talk about it in this.
We'll probably not get that far into it. We're just gonna go very surface level. So that's the main thing I want to hear. Wanted you to hear for what Kill Team 3 version 3 is going to be like. So it's really following the philosophy that they've followed for 10th edition for Warhammer 40K. It's following what they're doing for Age of Sigmar 4th edition. It's very much made for the 99%. And there's easy to learn, difficult to master. Seems like that's the motto for GW. My biggest complaint, I think, with how he's presenting it is kind of saying that it's still going to be the game for the veteran players, the people who've played all the old editions. It's still the same game for all of you. And I kind of like, I don't know, that's the one thing that I'm like, come on, like this isn't for the veteran players anymore. That's because we've had that same exact thing happen to us in Star Wars Legion where we played like the base game for years and then they made all these they made all these changes, updates to 1.0, which to us felt like it kind of ruined the game to make it simpler for people, and now they've come out with a new edition which feels like maybe to make it even simpler.
It's a new game completely to try to make it, again, they went that simpler route, trying to make it more quote unquote accessible, but it is just a totally different game at that point.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it's like, stop trying to advertise. I understand that you don't want to scare away your existing people, but it's almost like maybe Games Workshop as a whole has kind of said, like, as far as rules go, screw the existing fan base, and they're gonna stay because they've already got skin in the game, kind of type thing, and we're gonna just try to attract new people, like a new generation of players to the game.
I would say that's true for when the second edition of Kill Team released, because the first edition was a completely different game, and then second edition obviously is the one that we're familiar with, but I know tangentially, like, I watched and started to learn first edition before second edition came out. First edition was completely different than second edition. I'm hoping that it's not too far off second edition, because to your point, if you're already invested in it and you're a veteran player, you don't want to have to relearn how to play Kill Team completely. Like, you would like to just kind of make an adjustment to some of the things that, you know, whatever they do to reduce bloat or time sinks of the current rule set, if there's something that they can do for that and then still play effectively the same game. This to me almost sounds like sorry, had to clear my throat. This to me sounds like when a video game company is trying to find that core gameplay loop, that like 30 seconds of fun, and then you just play it over and over. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like it sounds like that to me. And it's like that balance in a board game where they're or a miniature game. So they're trying to find this balance of having complexity to make it so that it's like a strategy game. Like there is strategy involved and, you know, my decisions matter, while also making it simple so that, you know, you don't have to have a rule for every single possible decision, and then it makes it super complicated.
Mm-hmm. Like I know we're new to 10th edition, and it's hard for us to speak about. We like 10th edition, but it's the only edition we've played, and I don't like to talk bad about previous editions when we've not played them. They could be better than the edition we're playing now, and me and Brooke wouldn't know it because we haven't played it. So it would ring hollow for me to say that this edition is really good. But I do know how it feels when you are a veteran of a game and they change the rules to make it simpler. It kind of feels like they're ripping the game out of your hands and giving it to new people. And in a way, that is exactly what they're doing. Because once you've become fully invested in the game, you might have all of the armies that you're ever going to buy. They're not advertising this game for you anymore because they've already milked all of their profits out of you, and they're essentially moving on to a new generation of players. They're designing a new game that they're going to advertise as being simpler to sell models to new people who haven't played the game yet, because that's where the most profit's going to be.
Yeah. And the whole reason that we constantly go back to talking about Legion or Kill Team is to pull on our own experiences and try to apply them to what we're experiencing now. Because to your point, we didn't play 9th edition. We played only 2nd edition of Kill Team. I started to learn the 1st edition. Yeah, I mean, I hear that like it feels bad when they come out with a new edition and they're like, it's simpler, not simple, and they like are trying to cater to these new players and veterans. Where, you know, in Legion example, where like this is not the game that I fell in love with. But I don't know. It's hard for me to be like super critical of that because they are a business when it comes down to it. Like they have to.
Well, let me just say this real quick. It just feels empty when they say it's for veterans, because you don't.
Yeah.
For me, it's hard to believe them that they're making simple rule changes for veteran players, because that's not really what veteran players want. They've learned the rules as they are, and it's like, in a way, they want an enhancement of the existing rules, where they don't want it to be like, I've mastered the way to use these rules to my advantage. And then it's like all of those things that you learned to do to your advantage because you are a veteran of the game, we're getting rid of that because we believe that gives you an unnecessary advantage, because you've invested the time. That stuff hurts as a player.
Yeah. I will leave my judgments about 3rd edition Kill Team until I actually see the rules, because we have no idea whether like when they say that we made it simpler, is that clearing up some of the wording? Because one of the things that is a criticism that me and Bill have about Kill Team is that some of the wording is like very hyper specific, and there's these certain words that you have to look for that like trump other rules, and you're like, I wouldn't understand this until I actually dove really deep into the rules and like had to read like FAQs and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's rules bloat that can be simpler and it could read a lot easier, and that could to me read as we're making it simple, not simple, like simpler, not simple, or, you know, making it more approachable or whatever. Like things that they're trying to pitch in this, like that could be the equivalent of that. Or they could be doing the thing where, you know, like Legion, where they basically make it a whole new game, and they pitch it as being simple or simpler, more accessible, and it's just a completely different game, and they they kind of take what you know and literally just throw it in the trash, and then you have to relearn how, the veteran aspect that they keep, saying like, oh, veterans don't leave, like we appreciate you, and we
Buy
think
a
that you're
kit
gonna
here
like
and
it.
there, please.
Yeah, we think you're gonna like this too, but in reality, that's just lipstick on a pig. Like, it's literally just surface level. We're trying to keep you here and buy another box, maybe. Like, please buy our book or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm not speaking. What I'm saying, I'm not speaking on what this new version of Kill Team is going to be necessarily. It's just the trend among all war games as a whole, where we're moving to this simple, not simple kind of mindset among rule creation, where I don't know, it just removes a lot of player, I don't know, like the way that players can drive the game, where it leaves the rules more open. And I think the more that you button down the rules and you leave rules not in the hands of the players to interpret, it makes the game a little less interesting. But and again, I haven't watched enough of this. I watched about the first 15 minutes of this video, so we're not going to get much further than that tonight. But as we learn more, maybe we'll comment on it more, on what we think. But it's a little worrying of a trend for me that we keep moving this way. But maybe
I mean,
we're just like, old man screams in the wind type thing.
okay, so to your point that this is a trend, it was obviously an effort in 10th edition, and we like 10th edition, and we're new, but I really like 10th edition. I think it's a very, like, in my opinion, I think it's a tight rule set. I think it's great. I think it's a great rule set. And I think that from what I've learned about the ninth edition, it seems to me, and again, I didn't play it, so I don't have the experience. It seems that they removed some of the unnecessary bloat, yeah, or overhead that ninth edition introduced, and it seems like a lot of people, even veterans, do appreciate that side of it, and some people don't, because there's not as much customization, like in list building. Like the war gear is all free, and people don't necessarily like that. Like, that's a controversial one. But
I just want
the
to
trend,
avoid simple for the sake of being simple.
yeah. I mean, my point being is that the trend is going simple, simpler, not simple, and we joined a game because of that, which is 10th edition, and we really like it. I am I think I'm more open-minded when Games Workshop is going to do this, because we literally got into 10th edition because of that. I'm more open-minded with Games Workshop because I think they handled 10th edition really well, is like the rule set. I think they actually handled it extremely well. And maybe that's controversial opinion, but I think they handled it extremely well to cater to a wide variety of players. And I think that we're pulling from experience with a company who acquired the game that we like, and they don't have any they're not invested in keeping that game, like catering to the game
Yeah.
as it was originally, because they didn't make it.
Yeah, that definitely hurts a lot worse. It's like, at least Games Workshop is still the same company that is updating the game. I think that makes them more like of an expert at how to update the rules to make them simpler. But when it's a brand new parent company and they're just like, we're putting these new people in charge, they're going to figure out your game that they've never played before, and they're going to make it easier to play according to them. And we're not really going to pull in any veterans in your community to play test. We're just going to pull some random people in who will become like the new spokesman for your community, whether you like it or not. That
and when
hurts a lot worse.
And when you complain about it, they'll just tell you to cope, basically, or go play a different game, which
Yeah.
is literally what happened.
Yeah,
But
so
I
that's
feel like,
different. But I don't want to discount veteran players and their opinions either, because I've seen some recent polls where people were asking, if you've played 9th or 10th, which edition do you like better? And 10th edition was at least like 15 points ahead of 9th edition as far as people who liked it. But then
wow.
you go in the comments, and all of the comments are about how 9th edition is better. So you really have the majority who like 10th edition right now, but there's this very vocal minority who think ninth is better. There's lots of things about ninth that these people really love and they like. And you shouldn't discount those people at all because um, I don't know. They all have important things to say too. So I don't think you should discount these veteran players who basically brought the game to be what it is today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like Games Workshop, or other companies that do this kind of thing, I feel like they have an idea that there are like they understand that there are people like that, and they want to try to bring those people into the fold in a new edition like this. So, like for Kill Team, using that as the example, there's a lot of people who, when they played first edition, that they really liked first edition, and then when second edition came out, it was so different that they didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And when they pitch these as being like, all the veteran players, we want to bring you, like, we respect, you guys, and we want you guys to enjoy it too. We're not making it super simple for you veterans. Like, when you jump in the game, you're going to know exactly how to play, almost with a few tweaks or whatever. Like, they're trying to cater to those people to try to, like, keep them happy.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's an intentional effort, or else they wouldn't even mention the veterans, right?
Yeah. I
So I feel
I
like
guess if they're mentioning the veterans, I just don't want them doing it facetiously, just saying like, "Oh, we're making this for you too," and it's like it's not. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, I understand that fear. I don't I again, we don't have as much experience with Games Workshop, but I personally I don't take their uh like I don't know. I don't take this as lip service, is what I'm trying to say. I don't take it
Yeah.
as lip service that they're trying to just be like,
I think
buy
I'm
our next
scarred.
box.
Yeah, I'm just scarred from AMG and Star Wars Legion. Like the way that they've continually updated the game since they've purchased it, it's just put a really sour taste in my mouth for these some of these parent companies, but Games Workshop, for how much crap I hear people talking about them, has, believe it or not, been refreshing in comparison to AMG.
Yeah. There are worse situations when it comes to a game. And I know people like AMG probably for like Shatterpoint, but like look what they've done to my boy when it comes to Legion.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the same. It is, and saying it's not the same is like super high level. It is not even, the identity of the game has been completely changed, and it's not necessarily for the better. And maybe there's other games like Kill Team 1 to 2, like the identity of the game has changed, but probably for the better, because it was trying to do like Games Workshops, larger games are trying to do like Warhammer rules in a small skirmish format, and those rules just didn't work. And then they're like,
Mm-hmm.
screw that, we're going to make a completely new rule set for second edition. And I think that was probably for the better. But this will be a test of whether they, how much they've learned from, iterating on 10th edition and then iterating on, Age of Sigmar. And now this is Kill Team's test, right? And they should have the experience from 10th edition and 4th edition Age of Sigmar. They should have that experience, whether it's like a cross team, like, hey, like we ran into this issue, and this is what the community thought about us doing this. Like they'll have those learnings to hopefully make good decisions for a third edition Kill Team. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm optimistic. I would have to see the rules and have to see the faction rules to get a better judgment, but I'm pretty optimistic about a third edition.
Yeah, I think this will be good for us to judge how Games Workshop goes about handling the new editions because we have more experience in Kill Team 2.0, and this will give us a lot more insight, and maybe we'll be able to relate better to veteran players of Warhammer 40K who dealt with the changes from 9th edition to 10th edition, for example.
Yeah, it will be interesting, definitely for our experience, because we didn't have the 9th to 10th, like you said. It will be
Mm-hmm.
very interesting to see how this is.
Yeah.
It might actually impact our opinions of GW, how this actually goes.
Yeah, but to like summarize for people real quick before we finally continue, it's just We're a little bit rah-rah sometimes for Games Workshop because we're new to the game and we don't have as much experience with Games Workshop as other players, and I don't want people to be like, oh, these guys are just simps for GW, and we're not. We're completely not that. It's just we're going off of our experience with GW so far, and we don't really have anything for us to go, GW stinks.
Right.
We've dealt with other things with other parent companies of other games that make us go, this company does stink, and we want to judge GW fairly. So I think this is going to be perfect for us to be able to go, oh, they did a really good job of handling the update from Kill Team 2.0 to their 3rd edition. So it'll be cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think you said it very accurately before. This is very refreshing for us when we got into 10th edition with our experience with the rules and GW compared to our experience with AMG and Legion. This has been refreshing, and that's probably why it's come across that we are maybe very positive about Games Workshop. But yeah, this will certainly be a test of that.
Yep. You just listened to a clip from Inwarp Mag. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our full podcast episodes right here on our channel. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to our podcast or to listen to more of our awesome clips.